Let me just pick up then on the wedding, just before we go off that. You've seen the church. Was it in the centre? Was it one of the bigger churches in
Yes,
Limerick?
it's one of the bigger churches in the centre of Limerick. Yeah.
Is it off near O'Connell Street? Isn't there an O'Connell Street in the centre of Limerick?
There is, yes. I think it is. Yes.
Okay, so where were we then in relation to them getting married?
Well, they got married in 1922 and they went to live in Gort. And they had a rented house in Queen Street in Gort. And I don't know anything about their life really in Gort, except that it was, I would say, socially very confined. They were friendly with the bank people in the Munster and Leinster Bank. My mother was very proud of the fact that at one stage she was invited to afternoon tea by Lady Gregory in Coole Park. And as I said to you earlier, he knew, I suppose, only casually, the customers of the bank. Some of them would have been landowners and so on in the Gort area.
At this point, he's a manager, isn't he, of the Gort branch then?
No,
he's still an accountant.
He's still the accountant.
So having sort of temporarily headed up the Headford branch, he's come back down in a sense.
Yes.
To a lower position in the Gort branch.
Yes, well, he was only acting manager.
He was only acting manager. So he's probably now waiting for his opportunity. But in a way, he's quite lucky, isn't he? Even though as a married man, to still be in Gort.
Yes, he is. He is. Now, as I know, my mother's teaching career came to an end when she got married. Which was the custom of the time.
Yeah.
So they lived anyway in, they often went back to Galway to visit his parents, because my mother struck up quite a friendship with a relation of Martin Maloney's. A sister, I think, but I'm not totally sure of that. She used to come into Galway Saturday with eggs, and there is a very famous and well-known market in Galway on a Saturday, still existing. It was called the Shambles Market because Shambles is an old name for a market, and the barracks of the Connacht Rangers, which was down at the end of Lombard Street where it joins the main high street, it was known as the Shambles Barracks, and it extended up practically to the Lombard Street premises of Martin Maloney,
right,
but not quite.
And who brought the eggs in? You're saying your mother or the sister?
The sister of Martin Maloney used to come in with eggs to this market,
right,
on a Saturday. Now, where did she live? She lived, as far as I know, out near Moycullen, where Martin Maloney grew up. I have a problem being certain as to where exactly he grew up. There is a woman who lives out in that area at the moment and whom I've met and who has invited me to lunch, called Nora Lydon. Now, Nora Lydon is the granddaughter, I think, of a brother of Martin Maloney's.
okay,
And they live at the moment in a place called Gortacurnon, which is near Moycullen. It's up on a height. It's on the left-hand side of the road as you come out from Galway. And one version of the story is that that's where Martin Maloney was born,
Right.
in this farm, which is now owned by this man, or lived in by this man. I'm not sure what his first name is, but his second name is Leiden, and he's a lorry driver.
Okay.
But there is a farm there as well, and they have a family, some of whom I have met. One of the boys of the family is the living image of Martin Maloney to look at. But whether Martin Maloney was born and lived in Gortacon, or whether he lived in another area which has been pointed out to me in Killannon. There's a turn off the main road which is going to Uachtarard and Clifton. There's a turn off with a signpost which says Killannon. Now if you go down that road, when you get to the townland of Killannon, there's a church there. There's the ruins of an old church up on the hill, and there's a new church down below it. And that church was built with money supplied by a Joseph Maloney of Boston.
The new church.
The new church.
Okay.
Now, there are quite a number of Maloneys in that area, and as far as I know, this Joseph Maloney was not related to us. But you never know, he might be far out. But further on down the road, going towards the lake, there is an area of what is now swamp.
Which lake is that?
Coral.
The Carib, yeah. Okay.
There is an area there which is bogland now. And how anybody, I mean, if it was like that in 1850, let's say, possibly you could scrape a living on it. I don't know what you would grow on it or how it could be cultivated at all. But that's where, I've also been told that that's where Maloney originated. So I'm not sure which is the correct story, to tell you the truth.
And what's the name of the, do you know, does the farm in near Moycullen have a name?
The one in Killannon, beyond Killannon.
No, the first one you talked about, the first option.
It doesn't have a name except the name of its area, surrounding area, Gortacurnon.
Right, okay. And the second place, the bit of bogland that you're talking about, is down near
Now near the lake.
down near the lake. Is there anyone farming that anymore?
Oh no, you couldn't farm it now.
Right.
Nobody would dream of trying to farm it.
And who would have thought that somebody would there?
Somebody told me, I can't remember who it was, that's where Martin Maloney came from. It certainly came from a very poor background.
Right.
Which is extraordinary in view of the fact that in later life he was obviously a very cultivated person and was very much involved in the theatre in Galway and in music.
That may be where your father got his music from.
Yes, but in early life he was came from a very deprived area. There's no doubt about that, and it's nearly miraculous that he managed to pull himself out of it.
Well, this is the man who went to Scotland, I think, is it?
This is the man who walked into Galway and got himself a job as a grocer's boy. And from there he eventually decided to go to Glasgow along with his friend John Burke. And the two of them went off to Glasgow. How they got there I don't know, or who paid for them. But there was a lot of contact at that time between the west coast of Ireland and Scotland.